feeling of anxiety, low self-esteem, insecurity was again outwardly not shown. Outwardly, I was like, yeah, everything's all good. And I went before Guru Granth Sahib Maharaj. This is the first time really that I had a conversation with the Guru. And I asked Guru Sahib, I said, look, Maharaj, I know that this is amazing and your people are amazing and all these things they look like wizards and all this singing, they look like princesses and I'm nothing like these people, but is there a place for me in us? Is there a chance that you could have a little spot for me, maybe like a footstool maybe or something like that? And I have to press the button again. And it was at that time. I'm giving you a hard time for it, Rob. It was at that time. Don't you touch it. It was at that time that I heard the Anand Sahib being sung, and it was an amazing moment for me. It was a realization for me that Guru Granth Sahib Maharaj replied to what I was asking, and they were like, Ananda Paya Meri Mae Sat Guru Ne Paya. It's like Guru Sahib was calling out and said, don't worry, I know entirely who you are on the inside. I know that you've messed up. I know what things you think. I know what things that you do. But there's a place for you in my house. Stick around. I've got time for you. I've got love for you. And I couldn't stop the tears from crying. I couldn't stop the tears from coming out of my cheeks as I realised that I found my home. And why am I telling you this is because it was at university that my life completely changed. We've all got these ideals that when I leave university, I'm going to make a dent. Put your hands up if you've got ideals about getting a job that's going to make a difference in the world. Are you doing something you think, yep, I'm going to do something amazing? But I truly believe you can only give someone what you've got. Logically speaking, if you're with your little brother or sister and they ask you to get them an ice cream from the shop and you ain't got the money in your pocket, can you get it for them? You can only give what you have in terms of a currency. Spiritually, I think that makes sense too. And what's really important that I think we should realise at the moment right now is that at university, it's a very romantic time, and I use that word purposefully, because romance in its true essence, what it means is endless opportunity. That's what true romance actually is. When you look at it, the world of wonderment as to what could befall you. And the chances that you have at university to become who you really could be are really, really endless. You can really, really do what you want. And it was at university, not a law school, not in 10 years of practicing commercial litigation and having, lifelong dreams being met in the sense of going on and practicing law and stuff like that, that my life really changed. My life really changed when I was at university in a lecture like this. So take this opportunity, take this time that you've been given, to really think about who you are. And whilst we're here to talk about mental health, we're going to talk about that as well. What I'd like to just ask you as a standpoint right now, as a question to just set the foundation for you. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you two questions. What's your name, Prof?
Garam.
Garam?
Yeah.
So, Garam, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Obviously at King's, dental student, first year, from the Midlands.
That's okay, I'm not going to judge you.
Don't know what else.
Okay.
What's saying?
So when I asked you to tell about yourself, after a moment of hesitation, you were able to speak, right? Now, let me ask you another question. What makes you happy?
It's kind of deep, What makes me happy? I don't know. I'm not saying it.
All right, stop. I deliberately asked you that question. The reason I asked you that question is I genuinely didn't expect you to have an answer.
Okay, good.
But if you think about it, let's just have a think about it for a second. We all know we're unhappy. We know we're depressed. We know we're sad. We know we're anxious. Whatever it is that has brought us here to this lecture today, as we advertise it as being unhealthy. But when I ask you a question, what makes you happy? Nobody knows. If I ask you at the back, you've had time to look at him in despair, and what makes you happy?
I would say family. That was my first thought, but actually, I think it can contribute, but that's not like the sole thing.
Okay. So he had no answer. You had an answer, which you've gone back from, which is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. What makes you happy? Anybody know the answer? It's really bizarre. Just think about this for a moment. You've been through 19, 20 years of school. You're at one of the top educational institutions in the country. We're at King's University. Second only to the university that I went to, which is Queen's. Yeah? No. Oh, we'll have a chat about that later. Yeah? No. Look, the truth of the matter is you've been through so much education, yeah? And the most basic requirement, which is the pursuit of happiness. The American dream is built upon this idea of the pursuit of happiness, right? And we're all achieving and aspiring in the hope that this will somehow make us happy or make our parents happy and that way make us happy. Nobody knows what's going to make us happy. And I think it's really, really important that when we talk about mental well-being, We're always saying, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm angry. But we don't know what we're aiming for. We don't even know what will make us happy. We know what we want to take away, but we don't want to replace it with. Does that make sense? Let me give you a really silly example. If you saw that my shoelace was untied and you said, your shoelace is untied, and I didn't know that the ideal was for it to be tied up, how am I supposed to correct the position? I'd look at it and go, you're right. And I carry on walking and tripping up, wouldn't I? I need to know that the ideal would be for the lace to be tied. Does that make sense? And we talk about mental unwellness. Yeah, we talk about being unwell, being unhappy. But when asked the question, well, what's going to make you happy? No one knows the answer. And I think that's really quite bizarre, don't you? Yeah, why don't we talk about what makes us happy, what we're going to actually achieve? Someone might say, trying to be clever, they go, I want to get a degree. You don't actually, if you think about it, want a degree. You want a degree because you want to get a job. Because you think that job will make you happy. Yeah? If I said to you, emotionally, what do you want to do? I want to be in a relationship with someone that loves me and cares for me. You don't really want a relationship with someone that loves and cares for you. What you want is someone that loves and cares for you because you think that will make you happy. Yeah? If you think about it, everything that we're trying to do in life, in the worldly sense, is we're looking to try and achieve a state of perpetual happiness. From buying a car. You don't really love automated vehicles. It's not a love and a passion for gears and brakes and tyres and suspension. It's because you want that car because you think the car will get you from A to B or make you happy. Yeah? And so everything that we do in one way or another is designed to try and sustain us and make us happy, right? But yet we don't actually know what we want. And Guru Sahib does. And that's the point. Guru Sahib knows what it is. And Guru Sahib actually can answer the question for us. Guru Sahib makes it plainly clear. They say, Avar kaj tere kite nakam mil sad sangat bhaj keval naam. Leave it chill. Avar kaj tere kite nakam mil sad sangat bhaj keval naam. They say that nothing in this world is going to be of any avail to you. Wherever you obtain, whether you become a qualified solicitor, whether you go on to have an established and a successful career, whether you become a dentist or a doctor, whether you get married and have 4 children and a big house and you live up on the river, whatever. None of these things are really going to make you happy. The only thing that's truly going to make you happy is when you receive Naam, when you realise who you really are inside. So when I asked you who you were, you said, I'm 19, I'm at King's, I'm first year, I'm from the Midlands. This is not who you are. We went through this journey yesterday with somebody else at Imperial. This is what you've been led to believe. The truth of the matter is all of those things are associated to the shell, the outside, this body, which is just a vessel, for something that is so much more beautiful, which is this wonderful soul, this light, this timeless light that exists inside you, which we call the Jyot, that form, that Atma, that droplet from the ocean of love. And the purpose of this life, my brothers and sisters, is for that light to become realised. When you realise that light, you're no longer going to be 19, first year, Kings. You're going to be this light of God. And then you'll be a light in the darkness for yourself. And then your idea of happiness will change. Because you'll be in a state of constant and perpetual happiness. Does that make sense? Am everybody with me so far? So, what must we do? How can we overcome this? We go, yeah, that's all very well. But I've lost people in my life and I'm struggling because I've lost people. How are you going to deal with that? Yeah, that's all very well, but when I go home on a weekend, my mum and dad are giving me a hard time. That doesn't factor for me right now. It's all very well, but I've got student debts to pay. And I'm not saying that we haven't got responsibilities in the world to maintain or to commit to or to overcome. But when you believe in a higher ideal, automatically the notion of higher means that what you were talking about below is lower, right? And when it's lower, then the consequences of those actions and unreactions or good things or bad things are not as big a priority in your life anymore. Does that make sense? When I was a kid and there was 2 chocolate bars in the fridge, one for me and one for my brother, and that was all that mattered. When my brother ate my chocolate bar, it was the end of my world. Does that make sense? But when you have a higher ideal and we have bigger things, it's not such a big deal. In the same sense, all of the things in this world, when you realise that they're only attached to, I'm 19, I'm a first year King student, I'm from the Midlands, and you go, actually, none of that means anything because you're a soul. There's something inside you that's far greater, and your purpose is far greater. You're living from that moment on for a higher ideal. You're living to become self-realised. And at that point on, you've still got people in the world that are going to leave you, and you're going to have to suffer that loss. You're still going to have people that give you a hard time, and you're going to have to endure that. But that's all happening at a lower level that ain't so important anymore because you're living in a different place. Does that make sense? Everybody say Waheguru.
Waheguru.
So we must believe. And the power of the mind, when we tap into it, to believe, is so powerful. And I've got a wonderful example to pull up to illustrate that point. And you're probably thinking I'll pull up one of the sheets, and you're thinking, who is this guy? Yeah. So just follow with me right now. What we've spoken about is living for a higher ideal. Yeah. As a Sikh, we're not living for ourselves. And Guru Sahib saying, "Aap gavaya, forget yourself, man. You want to realise who you really are. The way to realise who you really are is to forget that you even exist and live in the service of others. You'll feel such a bliss. You'll feel such a contentment. You'll feel so alive that you'll realise what it means to actually be alive. Everybody's suffering in this world, suffering with mental anguish, suffering in some way in this world. They are concentrating on their own condition. I am in this condition. I am stuck right now with this pain of my disease, in the mind, in the body, in the world, whatever it is. Anybody suffering is concentrating on their condition, right? The nature of it. I am suffering because I am ill. I am suffering because I am unwell. Yeah? And Guru Sahib is saying, forget even that you exist. Believe in a higher ideal. Live for a higher ideal. Live to serve the creation. You'll be so busy, consumed with that love in service, that when you're looking at others, you've got no time to look even at yourself. Have you ever heard your mum say this when she's running around? She goes, I've been so busy, I didn't even have a chance to go to the bathroom. I've been all day, I didn't get even a chance to go to the bathroom. Yeah? Have you had that example or any example like that? And that's just a worldly example, but you can live in such a way that you're so dedicated to serving others that you can forget yourself. And if you're not thinking about yourself, how can the pains of your own existence consume you? Are you with me? Believe. Everybody say believe.
Believe.
Say believe.
Believe.
So what I'm going to show you now is an example of the power of belief. So anybody know who this is?
Bannister.
Huh?
So Roger Bannister.
It's Roger Bannister. Anybody know who Roger Bannister is or what they're famous for?
He did I think it was like 4-minute mile. But he was a medical student as well.
All right. Are you a medical student?
Yeah.
Look at you with your arms crossed and that, yeah? Is that still going? Is it cut off? You're in charge,
No, it's still going,
director,
still going.
man.
Yeah, it's still going.
Okay. Anybody watching?
Touch it.
Don't turn it off.
13.
I have low faith. Okay. So this is Roger Bannister, right? So check this out. Roger Bannister in the 50s, for many, many years, people were trying to run the mile in under 4 minutes. Many, many years. Everyone was trying to do this. They wanted to be the first guy to run the mile. And no one could do it. Everyone was struggling. Nobody could get there. Roger Bannister in 1951 runs a mile in under 4 minutes. Amazing achievement, right? Amazing achievement, yeah? But you know what's even more amazing? Yeah? Within 2 years so far, like 100 years, nobody could run the mile in under 2 minutes. Under 4 minutes. But what's really amazing is, after Roger Bannister has run the mile in under 4 minutes, after nobody could meet that mark, within 2 years, 37 other people have run the mile in under 4 minutes. Nothing had changed. The mile hadn't changed, the metric unit. The timing hadn't changed, exactly the same. The conditions hadn't changed. The gravitational pull hadn't changed. The wind hadn't changed. Nothing changed. Only one thing changed. And you know what that was? People believed it could be done. Roger Bannister had done it, and so it could be done. And so after that, everybody was like, it's easy, it can be done. So the power of the mind in overcoming matter, whatever difficulties it can be, when you're living, because they're living now to a higher ideal. Before it couldn't be done. It was impossible. But now they've got the example of Roger Bannister, they're living to a higher ideal, right? And they can say, we're going to now live to what has happened. It happened a year ago, Roger's in it, Roger's over there, he's stretching, we're going to do it. My brothers and sisters, around this time now, about 1,500 people have run the mile in 4 minutes. You know, college students at university, they just run the mile in 4 minutes for jokes. Yeah? My point to you is this, though. It's not an athletic thing. I'm not asking you to go out and put your track shoes on. What I'm saying is the power of belief, the power of the mind is so great. Guru Sahib says, Atam Jinay Sagal Vasta Ke Jaka Satguru Pura. Guru Sahib says, Atam, when your mind, Jinay, when you defeat your mind, when you have victory of your mind, Sagal Vasta Ke, everything in the world will become within your power and control. Everything will become under your control. What does that actually mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're about to sit here and move your fingers and someone's legs over there are going to start moving. What it means is, at the moment, we're at the mercy of the world. The world's completely controlling us because we are first-year King student from medicine from the Midlands. Yeah, whatever we're doing, we're just completely absorbed by the world. But when you get to that state of mind when you believe and you're living to a higher ideal, then what will happen is the world's control over you will diminish. What does Guru Nanak Bhatta say about belief? Guru Nanak Bhatta says, "Manne ki gat kehi na jaye." Maharaj is saying that manne, those people that believe in the ideals of the Guru, that believe in the idea of doing seva, of looking out for others, concentrating on another. Whilst we are concentrating on another, we are not consumed by ourselves. Whilst we are concentrating on another and we're thinking about the Creator, we're not consumed by ourselves and we will live not for our own pains. Manne ki gat kehi na jaye. You can't even, Maharaj is like, don't go there. Don't ask me about those that believe. You're asking me to describe those that believe. Guru Nanak is saying, don't even ask me about them. You can't even understand the depths of the qualities of those that believe. Maharaj is saying, Manne jam ke saath na jaye. They're saying that those that believe, they will never die. Just think about that. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that you're not going to leave this world. What Maharaj is saying, that when you become realized, you realize that you're this soul. You become self-realized. That this soul that exists inside you is who you really are. That you're not just a dental student or a medical student or a person that's coming here to perform clinics. But actually that what exists within you is a soul that is eternal. That cannot be affected by mortgage rates. Cannot be affected by grades. But actually this soul, this light that exists within you is pure love. And the purpose of this life is to use this body like an antenna to call the name of God to become realized. When you realize that, that soul will be who you are, and that soul is timeless. Your soul will never die. Manne jam ke saath na jaye. We think of Amandeep Singh Ji. When we think of Amandeep Singh Ji, we don't say God rest his soul. We don't talk about them in the past tense. They're here right now. One of my teachers who's taught me how to do Gatha, Gyani Sukhraj Singh Ji, a wonderful soul, they said to me that when you speak about those that were shaheed, those that were martyrs, those that were self-realized, if you like, who believed, that when you speak about them, you have their better, that they come around you and they are in your company. Meaning that they're not dead, that they're with you right now. If you just take a moment to relax, just close your eyes and put your backs up straight, just sit, you'll notice that from the jokes we were telling, the very bad jokes I might add, that I was telling you before we started this session, you'll notice that the atmosphere in the company as we learn together has completely changed. If you just close your eyes and just really, really be present in the moment right now, not as a student of this university, but as one who is believing that they can become self-realized through learning the path of the Guru. And we're going to say the Guru's mantra 5 times together in the Sangha. We're going to say the Guru's mantra, which is Waheguru, which means wow, wonderful, destroyer of darkness, bringer of light. Wow, wonderful, bringer of all gifts. Wow, wonderful, bestower of courage, truth, love and compassion. That one that exists within me. We're going to say the Guru's mantra as we've never said it before, as we understand that we're saying that name not just outwardly but to answer the call within. And we're going to say the name together 5 times. Everybody really, really listen to that vibration. Allow it to come out of your mouth, and no sooner as it comes out of your mouth, you're going to capture it with your ears and have the Shabad go through your ears and just fill your whole body with the bliss of the sound of the Shabad. Everybody together. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. And if you want to, don't be afraid to do this. I know we're in London town, yeah, but you can smile. Yeah, and once you feel that, everybody, did you enjoy? Put your hand up if you enjoyed that moment to reflect. It's okay. guy, man.
It's the table, innit?
You need to apologise to the Sangat
Sorry,
now.
my bad.
What you got, bro?
I'm sorry, my bad.
We shouldn't trust him. I think he's like a saboteur. So, what we just did there, collectively, for those that have never experienced it before, is we meditated on the name of God. And Guru Nanak Bhata is saying that the highest thing that we can do in this world, just as a side, but it's a really big aside that we can learn today, the highest thing that we can do in this life, the highest thing in the world, is to just take a moment to sit and be grateful for the breath and recite the name of God. If you ever get a chance to just sit down in the company of the Sangat, or to sit down in the quiet of your room and just think, yo, I'm going to close my files for a moment, I'm going to just sit and I'll recite the name of God, and just feel that breath coming in and out, you'll understand that you exist far beyond this body. Everybody say, Waheguru.
Waheguru.
It means something slightly different when you're really listening to it, doesn't it? I say, Waheguru.
Waheguru.
So here we are. Now, the question is this. So this is a little bit of an introduction to just get our minds a bit focused. So we're on this journey. I'm on this journey with you. We're all on this journey together. And it's a cool journey. The journey of this life, then, is to become self-realized. Listen to this very, very carefully. There's a great scholar, a great saint. Their name is Gyani Kulwant Singh Ji. They're respected the world over as one of the leading Sikh philosophers, one of the leading Sikh educationalists. And I highly recommend, if you get a chance, listen to their stuff. They're on SoundCloud and YouTube. Amazing. And they say that the source of all suffering, comes from forgetting the Creator. I'm going to repeat that again. The source of all suffering, all pain, comes from forgetting the Creator. For it is when we forget the Creator that we get consumed by ourselves. And when we are consumed by ourselves, then we can see all of the warts and the problems and the difficulties that we have in our life, including the mental difficulties, the difficulties that we might have with nervousness, anxiety. These are all associations with the self. Insofar as you're living for the Creator, you're living for a higher ideal, then there will be no source of these pains. How is it that we can look to become to a place where we can overcome these pains? There are three types of pains. Guru Sahib talks about the three illnesses that we can suffer. And Guru Sahib says that in Gurmat we understand that you can divide all disease into three types: Adi, Vyadi and Upadi. So Adi are diseases of the mind, like depression, anxiety, mental unwellness, mental unwell-being, and there are obviously lots and lots of medical definitions and names for the types of illnesses you can have. Vyadi is like diseases of the body, like for example you get fever, you get cold, you can have cancer and stuff like this. And you've got Upadi, which is like external factors that come into you. For example, if someone stabs you, or you've been in a car accident, physical altercations, that sort of pain, physical. So these are the three different types of ways we can categorize the disease that can haunt your body, that can haunt your being. And what Guru Sahib says is that all three of these diseases are not beyond the bakshish, beyond the power of the Guru. Guru Sahib says, Tine tapa, the three tap, Tine tap nivaran hara, dukhanta sukra, sata ko bigna ko lage, jaki prab age ardas. Guru Sahib says, of all of the obstacles you can face, of all of the diseases that you can be completely riddled by, be they psychiatric, mental, be they physical through illness or physical through attack, they can all be overcome. How? By the power of ardas. What does ardas mean? It means that prayer, that supplication, that sincere request to the Creator, that Maharaj, look, I'm a little bit stuck right now. Yeah, can you please help me out? Maharaj says, Birti kadi na ho bhai, jan ki ardas. That any ardas done from your heart, truly with sincerity, yeah, that Guru Sahib will never let that go birti, will never let that go unfulfilled. So this is the life that we are looking to try and aspire to live. We want to live disease-free. We want to live in a good state of mind. And how can we do this? I remember going to the Gurdwara. I was a little bit younger, right? And I went to the Gurdwara and I go to the Gurdwara, and after I come back to the Gurdwara, I go to my laptop and I refresh my laptop, and I had some really bad emails on a case I was working on. I'd won a case and it was being appealed by the other side, and it was really, really stressful for me. I was really consumed by this case. It was quite personal. I was acting for somebody who I was quite close to, and the appeal would have meant a lot of difficulties for me at home. And I was like, yo, I've just been to the Gurdwara, man. I've come back And this has happened. That doesn't make any sense. On another occasion, I spoke to someone and they were like, I went to the Gurbani, I came outside and I got a parking ticket. How does that work? Yeah? And people have this understanding that bad things shouldn't happen to you because there's an assumption. Listen to that word, assumption. There's an assumption that if you do good things, that these things shouldn't happen to you. But what this is based on is we need to understand this, and I think if we understand this, it would help us a lot with our emotional turmoil and the anxieties that we face. It's all based on an assumption that we've got the ability to define what's good and bad. Yeah? What we do is we make a decision, that's bad, and obviously I've done good, and so that shouldn't happen to me. Yeah? But what we don't actually understand is that we've made an assumption that that's bad. We actually don't know what we actually need in any given moment. Yeah? So Guru Sahib gives an example. They say, Jo, that if you go to the next slide. Next one. Oh, sorry. So Guru Sahib says, Ketia tu kapuk sadamar ehbe dat teri datar. They say there's so many duk, there's so many pains that can be given to you. Yeah? Duk, puk, and even hunger when you haven't got any food. Sadamar, you could be hit with all these things, right? And we make an assumption that these are bad things that are happening to us. That we've lost people in our lives, that we're having to suffer this, and this is a bad thing. But Maharaj says something so powerful. They say, Ebe dad, teri dad. Even these things that happen to you, even these things are actually gifts. If you were but to step back and have a look and realise. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes we look at something that's happening to us in our lives, and we get consumed by it. From our ego, we think that this is a bad thing happening to us. And then we get into mental anguish, that this shouldn't be happening to me. But we haven't actually got an understanding of what's right and wrong, what's good and bad. How many times you've been through something and you look back, you go, I'm glad that happened to me. It taught me a lesson and I've changed my ways and made me into a better person. Yeah? I'll give you an example that really, really came home to me. I was talking about it at Gatha on Sunday. As a young lad, when I first started doing Gatha, one of the very first places I was invited, as a family in South London, they were having a Sukhmanisar bath, right? And I went to go and see this young lad who's kept his gaze. And he's like a 16, 17-year-old boy. And he was very, very ill. He had a large part of his small intestine removed from his body. And he was in such a difficult situation because he'd have to leave school at 3 o'clock. He couldn't stay bound for like after school football and stuff like that. Couldn't go to the parties, the youth club. Couldn't go out on a Friday night with his mates because he was so ill that he'd have to fall asleep by 4 or 5 o'clock to have half a chance of getting up early enough the next day. So I'm at his house, and in my sort of mistaken mind, I'm there to go and teach, but I was actually going to go and learn something so much more than I was going to teach. Happened so many times in life. Yeah. So we go to this house, and I'm talking to this young lad, and I'm like, I'm so sorry for you having to suffer this way. I wish that we could do something to take away this pain that you're suffering in. He was physically riddled with disease, yeah, and he's like curling over. His back is all curled, and he's a lovely, lovely young lad, yeah. He's about 17, 18 years old now, and he goes to me, Singh, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm looking at him thinking, yo, you've got no small intestine. Most of it's been taken out of your body. Look at the pain, look at the physical pain. You're debilitated. You can hardly walk. You definitely ain't running nowhere. You can't come to outside your hometown area. You've got like a circle radius. You've got to get home in time to be able to get knocked to go to sleep and that. When you get ill, you're knocked out for weeks. How can you possibly say that you wouldn't change it for the world? He saw what I saw as a disease, as a gift. He goes, yo, Singh, since I got ill, right, my mum and dad, they got like really close, and they started going to the Gurbani, and we found out about Sikhi. We started learning about the Guru's teachings, and my life has been so blissful. If I never got this illness, then I would never have a chance to learn about Sikhi. Now you tell me, who was wrong in making that assumption that that was bad? Have I told you? I made the assumption. I was completely educated that day. Yeah. So what Maharaj is saying is that dukh is not what you call dukh. If you've lost someone and that's brought you to the Guru's darbar, and you're standing before the Guru and you're crying to Maharaj, look, I'm in pain right now. In all fairness, if that has brought you to the Guru's darbar, really we should be saying shukrana. We should be saying thank you. If you've lost your small intestine and your family has had to come together, they think they're going to lose their kid, and now your kid's keeping his gaze, the dad's kept his gaze, dad's taken Amrit, the mother's come to the Godara now. You know, everyone's blissed out in that yard, man. They're proper living. They weren't even living before. They were worried he was going to die. Unbeknownst to all of them, they realised they were all already dead, and then they just woken up and now they were living. that disease has brought life, not death and disease. Does that make sense? Everybody say Waheguru. So we make assumptions and we build our deck of cards upon these false assumptions based on our limited intellect. Yeah, and Maharaj is saying, Jo nar dukh mein. The truth of the matter is that when there's a dukh in your life, we want to reach such an ideal. The ideal standard should be that when there's dukh in your life, yes, that's fine. We're going to have to suffer certain consequences. There's going to be things that my daughter does that are going to bring me a lot of pain. It's just the nature of human beings. There's things that I'm going to do that is going to bring her a lot of pain. There's things that you're going to do to each other that others will happen to you. But it's not that you're not going to have dukh in your life. You're going to go to the Gurdwara, you're still going to get a parking ticket. Yeah? But the choice is yours as to whether you're going to let that dukh consume you. Maharaj says, Jo nar dukh mein, dukh nahi mane. That one who in the midst of pain, so imagine pain's like a sea, yeah? They can jump into that sea, but they haven't got to drown in it. It's up to you whether you want to let it consume you or whether you want to float in it. Things are still going to happen to you, but it's up to you how you perceive that thing. That young boy's an example. Disease came to his body, but it was up to him as whether he was going to see it as a disease or a gift. And now he's as happy as he's ever been. I saw him on Sunday night, and he's just buzzing. And he's so happy. He's like, "Sing, I'm so happy, man. Life is so good." And he's probably happier than a lot of the boys and girls that I've met since that time. And you could decide whether that includes you. It's not for me to judge. You know? And the question is who's right to say whether he's in a bad condition or a good condition? It's up to us to decide how we're going to perceive our situation. You can choose to concentrate on that one thing that you think should be different, or you could choose to concentrate on everything else in your life that's perfect. And that would change your state of mind. Instantly. Your state of mind is nothing more than your own choice of perception. You can't control what happens to you, but you're totally in control of what you see, how you see that thing. Does that make sense? I'll give you another example. When I was about 2 years ago, me and my best friend, we went to Washington. I was in a very negative state of mind, I might add. And I was at university. I was at Washington. We rented those rental bikes. We were riding around the area. And what happened was we were looking for this war memorial that was dedicated to all of the fallen soldiers that had died fighting against, and it was something that was personally very interesting to me because it's something that I take a lot of interest in history of those that have given their lives. So it's something that I'm really interested about. But my mind was in a very negative state. And so I was riding around with my mate, and we were looking for this war memorial, this cemetery for the fallen soldiers, right? And completely in a negative state of mind. And we're going in this direction, and there's this lady, and I stopped this lady, and I say, "Excuse me, we're looking for the war memorial for those fallen soldiers." And she says, "Are we going in the right direction?" She goes, "No, it's not that way, it's that way." And I go, "Thank you so much. We were going in the wrong direction." Started pouring all this negativity out. So we're going in the wrong direction. Had you not told me, I'd have carried on going that way. I would never have found it, and I would have just been a complete failure. And what she said to me, I think, really had a profound effect on my life. She said, "Listen, no, had you gone that way, you would have found something else. And that would have been equally as wonderful, and you'd have had a great time." It's a matter of perception. The funny thing is, I never got to the war memorial. I found something in that conversation on that journey far more important. If we just open up ourselves to the opportunity, we can say that we're lost and we don't know where we're going, or we can say there's a plan, and I'm part of it, and things are going to be great. And just saying that as an ideal, some of you are smiling at the idea of just being optimistic, but why not? What does it mean to be in a positive state of mind? In Sikh philosophy, we call this concept Chardi Kala. Everybody say Chardi Kala.
Chardi Kala.
Say Chardi Kala.
Chardi Kala.
So what does Chardi Kala mean? Chardi means to be constantly rising, but it's really interesting actually. It doesn't mean like a graph like this. Chardi Kala means that it's exponential, so it's like the rate is going up, everything's getting better, but the rate at which it's getting better is going up, and the speed at which it's getting better is going up. So it's like not only getting better, it's doubling up. And so it goes from good to great to amazing to the best to oh my God, the complete bliss. And wait a minute, it's even better still. That is what it means to be Chardi Kala. And a good Sikh is aiming for this ideal. And it's really important that we understand what we're aiming for. This has all got, coming back to what I said to you earlier, what makes you happy? If we don't know what we're aiming for, we're never going to hit it. I'm going to say that again. Very simple words, but when you put them together, they mean something so much. You're only going to hit a goal that you're aiming for. What we are aiming for is to be in a state of perpetual Chardi Kala. What we're aiming for, what we should be aiming for, is to be in a state of complete and utter bliss. And for some of us, before this lecture, that thought of being totally happy all the time and blissed out hasn't even occurred to us as something that we should be aiming for. How are we going to achieve a goal that we're not even aiming for? You're all aiming to graduate, so that's a goal that you've got, so hopefully you'll get there. If you came here and you weren't aiming to graduate, there's no way after 3 years you're going to graduate, right? If you didn't know that was what your purpose was, any chance of you succeeding? Very unlikely, right? So the purpose of this life is to become one with your soul, to realise who you are inside through calling the name, that you could be in a perpetual state of bliss. We call that Anand. Say Anand. Ananda. Say Anand. Anand means bliss, to be at one with the Guru, to be in complete bliss. So how is it that we can be in a state of Chardi Kala? To be in a state of constant, ever-rising spirits. Just for a moment, just for a moment, just think for a second. What would your life be like, if you were in a constant, perpetual state of undiminishing and ever-rising complete bliss? Would that be amazing? Put your hands up if that would be amazing. Say, Waheguru. Be honest, be honest. Put your hands up if this is the first time that you've ever even thought about the concept of ever being totally happy and completely in Anand. Put your hands up if this is the first time you've ever thought of it. This is a really sad state of affairs. As Sikhs, we haven't been told about what we're aiming for. How are we going to achieve our goal in life if we don't even know what we're looking for? Guru Sahib says something so wicked, man. They say something that just cut through all of the socially accepted, politically accepted things of the time. There were two groups of people at the time of Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. There were those that were worldly, like kings, and they wanted to conquer the world and take over the world and become rich and famous and have their name known across the world. They wanted Raj, And the other type of people were the renunciates, the religious people, and they were looking to walk away from the world. They wanted to go into the deserts and the mountains and the jungles and repeat the name of God, and that they would become known for being very holy, and that they would become like wizards and things like this, like the Siddhs, like the holy people, like Gorakhnath and things like that. So you've got the people that want Raj, and those that are looking for Mukti. But Guru Sahib says this is so beautiful. They say, Raj na jao, Mukt na jao, Man Preet Charan Kamalare. They go, yo, I don't want Raj. I don't even want Mukti. And everyone's like, huh? There's only two things. Either you want to be a worldly king, or you want to be worldly, like a religious person. You're like, I don't want Raj. I don't want Mukti. I just want one thing. I want to be attached to the Lord's feet. I want to be in bliss. I want to be happiness. You want to send me to heaven? Send me to heaven. You want to send me to hell? Or be tikya. So long as I'm with you. And this is the state of mind, what it means to be in a state of Chardi Kala. The reason I'm telling, why I'm sharing this with you is, if you know that is what you're looking for, that is what you can achieve, then you can aim for it. In simplest terms, if you never knew as a car enthusiast that a Ferrari existed, you couldn't aim for it as something that you want to own, right? One of the most beautiful cars you can own, right? But if someone tells you about it, you see a picture of it, that you can aim for it. The purpose here right now is to just widen that horizon just a little bit more. We're not just looking to become fourth-year graduates, postgraduate, master degree, successful people in this world and own houses. We want to get to a place where that mental anguish is gone, where we're no longer just consumed with ourselves and being a person that has got respect in society. We want to be a person that is self-realised, that you connect with that soul that's inside, that light within you, that you can feel that bliss, that you could be in a state of Chardi Kala. Everybody say Chardi Kala. Say Anand. Say Anand. Chardi Kala. So how can we, if we're in a nervous disposition, we're in a anxious disposition, we're feeling sad, we're feeling bereaved, we're feeling upset with ourselves, how do we change that state of mind so that we can go from a negative state of mind, that we can start looking inwardly and hopefully become into a state of Chardi Kala, or start that journey to become Chardi Kala? Well, the teachings come from Guru Nanak Badshah. Guru Nanak Badshah gives us the teachings, and they say, when we do Ardas, the Sangat comes together, what do we say? We say, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala. We say, through the name of God, through reciting the name of God, we can become Chardi Kala. So put your hands up if your Bibi said to you, Waheguru bol, or Simran Karya Karo. You've heard somebody in your house, they say, do Simran. You've all been told to do Simran at some point. You've heard someone do Simran. You're in the Gurdwara, someone was watching the Pandey, you can hear Satanam, Waheguru. Yeah, you know this is what you're supposed to do. But perhaps we've never been told why. Yeah? And what we're here to do right now in this moment is just really focus for a few minutes, and we're going to understand the why as to why we recite the name of God. In the Sangat, we say together, everybody together, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala Tere Pane. So just the first 4 words. Nanak Naam. Nanak Naam. So through the name of God, we can become Chardi Kala. Guru Nanak Bhadshah is saying to us that the name of God, Vaheguru, that when you call out that name, you will be instilled with such a state of bliss that you will go from good to great to amazing to complete bliss to Anand, ever rising, constantly, perfectly good-spirited. And who doesn't want to be happy? Who doesn't want to be free of the disease of the mind that makes them feel anything but that bliss? Everybody say Vaheguru. So now we know the why. Let's find out why that is the why. Yeah. Guru Nanak Bhadshah says to us, why is it? That's it. That's cool. Because when we say Vaheguru, what's built into the Guru, we call that the Guru Mantra. Vaheguru is called the Guru Mantra, the Guru's Mantra. Yeah. When we say Vaheguru, there's 4 akara. There's 4 akara. The Vava, the Haha, the Gaga, and the Rara. Yeah. We're just going to concentrate because of time on the first akar. What is built into the Guru Mantra? What is built into that Vaheguru Mantra that we recite? What's built into it is gratitude. When we say Vaheguru, everybody say Va. Say Va. Va. See, this is the language of the soul. Gurbani is so intuitive. It's no coincidence that most of you are smiling like a baby. Yeah. The language of Gurbani is timeless, and it's speaking to the part of you. It's starting to stir that part of your soul. Everybody say Va. 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 Va is the international sound for appreciation. You watch Italian football, yeah, and they score an amazing goal. The Italian commentator, all you hear is Va. Yeah, Va internationally across the entire planet. This vibration that's happening across the whole globe. Va is the international sound. It's universally understood as a sound of gratitude. You see a beautiful baby, you go to someone's house to give them pyar, say Vah. You know, you see something beautiful, or you're in nature and you see something amazing. How do we express that? Vah. Yeah. And when we do the Guru Mantra, what we're actually doing is we're expressing our gratitude to the Creator. And the way that we can become Jardi Kalam, brothers and sisters, really, really focus. Just lend me your ears for the next few minutes, yeah, really focus. You want to change your state. You want to go from a negative state of mind. It comes from a place of gratitude. Insofar as you are grateful, you can never be in a negative state of mind. I'm going to say that again. Insofar as you are in a perpetual state of appreciation and gratitude for something or someone or everything, you cannot be in a negative state of mind. It is impossible. In terms of your mental anguish, if you are depressed, if you are upset, if you are angry, none of these things can exist at the exact same moment that you are grateful. You look at any moment you are angry, in that moment you are not grateful. You look at any moment you are completely grateful, you cannot be angry. You cannot be upset. So what we have to do, we have to turn the key on our mind and start looking out for all of these things that before have been invisible in plain sight, and start looking at them and realizing them and being grateful. And you're thinking, but what do I have to be grateful for? I've got mock exams, I've got final exams, I've got modular exams. What do I have to be grateful for? The people that I love have just left me. There is so much to be grateful for that if we started the list it would be endless. But let's just have a few examples right now. When we wake up in the morning, and you wake up and you're thinking about how much of a day you're going to have, and you go to the bathroom. Most of us go to the bathroom, we go to the bathroom first. And you sit down and you pass all of those liquids out of your body. And you pass all of those fluids out of your body and the solids out of your body. All of that system is working just fine. Not like that young lad that we just spoke about earlier. And take a moment and just be grateful for the body that we have. You know? When you go downstairs and you turn the tap on, you drink water. You have a glass of water. There is so much beauty in that water. That water is going to do more for you than anything you're going to buy out there with all from Mackie D's or Burger King. The most nutrition you're going to have is in that glass of water. Before you drink it, just take a moment and look at the water and say thank you so much. I guarantee you it will taste so much sweeter. You go to Tesco's where the M&S is down the road, the M&S food, and you get a loaf of bread, every now and again you happen to catch the bread just as it's been put out. It's just been freshly baked, and you pick up the bread, it's still warm. Just take a moment and smell the bread and be appreciative that that bread that you're going to eat has been given to you. You can eat whatever bread you want. There's 4 or 5 bits of bread. You go Subway. You're about to have something to eat. Before you eat, just have a little look. There are 7 different types of bread. 7! We never think about it that way. But it's really painfully obvious to us how much there is to be grateful for. You get to choose what bread wraps your nutrition. Just think about it. It sounds crazy because the world is so ungrateful. That's the only reason it sounds odd. Let's start being more grateful. It's built into the Gurmantar, and we've lost the translations. We've lost the meaning. We say, why Guru, but we're not understanding that. What we should be saying is, I'm grateful. Guru Nanak Bhattacharya says that the number of gifts that we've been given from the Creator are so many we cannot even write them down. Denda de lende thak pai. That if we was to write down the gifts, we would run out of our life before we would run out. Before we run out of the gifts. Yeah? Mara says, Bauta karam meaning gifts. Likhya na jai. We cannot even write down all the gifts. There was not enough paper or pens to write down all the gifts. So what kind of things can we really, really appreciate? Let's get right down to the root of it. Gyani Gurbani Singh explains that although the gifts are limitless, they say the greatest gift we've been given. So you're struggling with gratitude? Here we go. We're going to double down right now. Gyani Gurbani Singh explains that the greatest gift that we've been given is the gift of this breath. Everybody just take a deep breath and hold your breath. We're going to do that again because that was a practice. We're going to take a deep breath together. Put your backs up, put your shoulders behind you so you can take your lungs, fully appreciate them right now. And you put your shoulders back and let your lungs do their thing. Yeah? You're going to live for your lungs for the next few minutes. I want everybody to take a deep breath and hold your breath together as one. Everybody say one. One. Unit. Family. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to hold it together. And as we take this breath, we're going to treat it like a gift. Yeah, because Gyani Gurbani Singh, that great saying, explains to us that the greatest gift we've been given is the gift of this breath. So let's treat this one breath with complete consciousness and focus on it, and let it be the gift that it is. And just watch your state change as you treat this breath as a gift together. We're going to hold this breath as one. Everybody say one. Say Waheguru. Waheguru. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. It means something different now, innit? Gratitude, yeah? Take a deep breath and hold it as one. We're going to do it together now. We're going to do it 5 times. This is our 3rd breath. Everybody say thank you, Guru Nanak. Thank you for the gift of this breath.
Thank you for the gift of this breath.
We breathe our heart beats about 100 to 120,000 times a day. I don't know how many breaths we've got. Google it. See.
26,000.
Look at my man. He's just on it, and he just knows. Yeah? If we take 26,000 of those bad boys a day, 26,000 of those bad boys, we appreciated probably that first one in our life. Yeah, there is so much to be grateful for. Yeah, and the beauty about gratitude is it costs you nothing and it gives you everything. I want to say that again. When we are grateful, it costs us nothing, but it adds value to everything that we have. For you could be a millionaire, but you are unhappy if you're ungrateful because you want to be a billionaire. Whereas if you're a millionaire and you're grateful because you're a millionaire. Does that make sense? Gratitude adds value to everything that we have, and it takes nothing from us. And it is completely our choice. We choose what we focus on. We choose our happiness. We choose it. We truly choose it, no matter where we are. Let's hold this breath together. Say Waheguru. Deep breath together as one. Say one. Family. Togetherness. Deep breath. got 2 more. This time, when you breathe in your mind, say the word consciously, thank you, Waheguru. Or, if you want to really, really double down, just say Waheguru, Waheguru, which is the same thing as saying thank you, Waheguru. Yeah? So say that good mantra together as one. Deep, deep breath together. Put your shoulders back. And as you breathe in this time, you haven't got to fake it, but if you feel like it, don't hide the smile. Put a deep smile on your face. Everybody as one. Deep breath as one. I'll say why. Being honest here, we're not need to lie to ourselves, and I'd say don't need to lie to me. Yeah, put your hands up genuinely and only in sincerity if you feel significantly better from taking those 5 breaths. Only honestly. I respect the honesty. So I've got 2. Everybody's hands up except for okay. So everybody but one's hands have gone up. Maybe we'll have a chat. Maybe you can help me out here. Maybe I'll answer anyone. Can only ask people. So, do you see? It's cost us nothing, but nearly everybody's put their hands up from that feeling of gratitude. You want to start feeling more alive. Start being more grateful. Going back to what Gyani Galwansinji said at the beginning of this discussion, it means something a lot more. Now it's in context. You're only going to be free from pain when you are in remembrance of the One. To be in remembrance of the One means to be grateful. All source of pain comes from forgetting the One. Every part of a dukh that you might endure in this world comes from forgetting the One. And insofar as we are taking those breaths in remembrance and gratitude, all of the stuff that comes into our life, yes, it will come, but it will just pass by just as well. It's up to you what you latch onto. Imagine you're standing before a conveyor belt and all of these things are going past you. You can, and one of them is happiness and gratitude and concentrating on the breath and doing simran, and the other one's anxiety, nervousness, anger, frustration, pain, dukh. You are in completely control which one of these things you take out off the conveyor belt and put on your back and carry around. Let it go. Yeah. Choose to focus. The mind, I've been told by my missus, I'm not a great multitasker. She goes, you can't do more than 2 things at once. Well, if that's the case, choose gratitude over the other thing. Choose the good mantra over the other thing. Because like we said, we can only do one thing as men. Yeah, most human beings can only do one thing at a time really, really well. So notice this. When you're in a negative state of mind, when you are anxious, understand this and take ownership of it. It's a bit painful at first, but you have to look at yourself and go, I'm choosing to focus on what I'm focusing on right now. Nobody can control what's in your mind. You can't control what's happening to you, but you can control what you're taking off that conveyor belt. And the truth of the matter is, it's painful, yeah, but it's a lot of the time what we do is, when we have anguish in our minds, we blame somebody else for what they're doing to us, and we go, I feel like crap because of what you did to me, yeah? And that's a very easy thing to do. Because insofar as you're externalizing your pain to somebody else and saying, you treated me like crap and that's why I feel this way, what you're saying is, it's your fault I feel this way, I ain't got nothing about it. Yeah? But what we're not doing is we're not taking ownership of our own happiness. Yeah? And what we're saying is, another way you're saying it, yeah, to hurt your ego, is you're saying, I'm a slave and you're my master. And I'm a slave to you and however you want to make me feel. No, that's not what we're here to do. None of us are slaves. They say that slavery was abolished like 60 years ago, yet we're walking around as slaves to everybody else's criticisms and judgments. In the entire world, there's an example which often comes to mind. I used to work in a video shop, so I've seen, like, before I came to Sikhi, I've seen like most of the classic movies, yeah. I've watched every movie in the video shop. The greatest job at university was to work in the video shop, yeah. And watched all the movies, and there's one particular example. There's a movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's about 10, 12 years old now. And the main actress in that movie is like a massive movie star, like an A-list movie star. Her name's Keira Knightley. Massive star. I'm not sure if she's a star these days at the moment, but at the time she was like the greatest Hollywood actress. Everybody wanted to be her. All the girls wanted to sort of aspire to be like her. All the guys were like totally obsessed with her, right? But it's really interesting, and I wish no wrong upon anybody, But recently it's come out and she recently confirmed and spoke about that at the height of that worldly happiness, she was so upset that there was a point in her life where for 2 weeks she didn't leave the house. She was so consumed with anxiety and self-analysis and judgment and nervousness and mental unwell-being, that she was so consumed about what other people were saying about her, that she was so obsessed with what people were saying about her and how it had gotten her down, that she was controlled by those forces. She goes, I can't leave the house. And I was like, what? I couldn't understand it. But then the teachings from Gurbani has come true, that insofar as you're concentrating on what other people are saying about you, and concentrating on what other people are doing to you or doing at you, you're forgetting the one, you're going to be in a state of dukkha. So what we're saying is, let's start actively practicing gratitude. When we do the Gurbani, when we do Simran in the mornings, if you have a chance to sit down, it's great if you do Bhat in the morning, it's amazing. If you're blessed to sit with a Gurkha Sahib and do Bhat, it's amazing. Even more amazing would be if you could just sit for a few moments and recite the Gurbani, the Simran, the name of God, and in your mind concentrate on your breath and be grateful that you're able to do that in that moment. I was speaking to a really wise Sikh once, a really wise good Sikh once, and again he's still cussing their names, and they're amazing, very, very knowledgeable guy. And I said to him, how do you do Simran? How is it that you should do Simran? Like, what's the technique? Do we sit down? Do we focus on this? Do we have a mala? Do we have a button? What do we do? Do we put doof on? In my mind, all these questions. And he said something to me that will stay with me, I think, for the rest of my life. He goes, yo, Singh, listen. If you ever get a chance to sit down and recite the name of God, just be grateful. Just shut up. Don't try and do anything else. Yeah, just sit down and be grateful that the opportunity has arisen in your life. Have a state of gratitude, and that is everything. And that means so much more to be now. My brothers and sisters, insofar as we are suffering, just take a moment to just check yourself how much you are grateful, how much you are living for another, how much you are serving another. Gurbani Singh said another thing, they're just full of gems. They said something amazing. They said that whatever you want in life, the best way to go about cultivating that thing in your life is to give it to other people. It's like, what? How the hell does that work? Yeah, but let's just break it down. What's Gurbani saying? They're saying that what we really want is to be happy, right? Ultimately, everything that we do, we want to be happy. We want to overcome depression. So, not because we want to get rid of depression, because we want to be happy. We want to overcome anxiety, not because we hate anxiety, but because we want to be happy. We want to get a degree, not because we necessarily love the idea of him holding a piece of paper. We think that will make us happy. We want to get a job. Again, the list is endless, because we want to be happy. And what Gurbani is saying is, if you want happiness, if you want to be happy, the best way to cultivate happiness is to dedicate yourself to helping others, being grateful that you had a chance to serve. And the rabbit hole goes deeper. Whenever you get a chance to serve somebody, what should you say in your mind? Today I got to help somebody, I'm an amazing person. No. When you serve someone, you say, yo, I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to serve. Because then we're doubling down, aren't we? We're taking the now. Yeah, yo, Maharaj, thank you so much for allowing me to be full of this chance to serve. There's people in your house are suffering. Rather than suffering with them, help them. Be that rock on their shoulder that they can lean on. And then, rather than being consumed by the pain that they're suffering in your house, you can stand there and be a rock. Everyone can cry on your shoulder. And rather than you're too busy focusing on their pain, trying to alleviate their pain, and then what you got gratitude. Your Maharaj, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to serve these people that are in pain. And then while you're too busy serving them, where's the pain for you? It's gone. My brothers and sisters, let's really start living. Let's start looking about how we can make this world a better place. And in so doing, whilst we're a light for the world, we're going to be a light for ourselves indirectly anyway. You look at anybody in this world that is truly happy. They're dedicating their lives in the service of the creation. They're dedicating their lives for the benefit of others. The greatest example was Guru Nanak Bhatta. Could you ever imagine Guru Nanak Bhatta in a state of unhappiness? They went all over the world. They saw rough streets. They were living in jails at sometimes. They were being arrested. They were being threatened to be stoned alive by Muslims that were treating them as infidels. But at any moment, can you picture Guru Nanak Bhatta anything but a state of complete and perpetual Chardi Kala? Look at the Singhs and Singha that we hear the stories of, that were tortured and cut into pieces, had their children killed if they wouldn't convert from their wonderful faith. But what were they at every point of that journey? They were grateful. They were grateful, and they were grateful, and they were grateful, and they were grateful.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just keeping on it, yeah? Okay, so listen, we're just going to finish up with something really, really important. So this one which we're going to share together is something I'm really excited about. I'm really passionate about this as we finish in this session today, yeah? So really, really concentrate, because it took me a long time to share, to learn what I'm going to share with you guys in the next 10, 12 minutes. And it's something that I'm really excited about. Is that cool?
Yeah, there's someone joined, sorry.
Okay. So what I'm going to share with you now, I took Amrit when I was about 24 years old, and from that time we were doing Nitanam every single day. We were reciting the daily prayers, and I never knew that which I'm going to share. I was doing those prayers out of sort of duty and respect, because that was what the Panj Biyare, those that were baptized by, told me that we had to do. But I didn't understand what was actually going on with the Gurbani there, one of the key prayers. And what I'm going to share with you now is something I'm really, really excited about. So just lend me ears and really, really focus, because I truly believe this could change lives. That this will, that it does, and it has changed lives. And it could completely change your mental state. People that are in a negative state of mind, often it's because of a lack of surety and you're unsure about what's happening, whether you should have taken a stance, how you can understand what's happening. Like, for example, those children we spoke about they couldn't understand why they were feeling so blissed out. And so this which we're going to share today now will give you a complete understanding of the way that the world works. It will give you a complete understanding of who you are inside. And that is a massive statement, but it's not overstated, and you'll understand why. So we're going back now 550 years. We go back to when Guru Nanak Badshah came to this earth. So really, really focus on this for the next 10 minutes, yeah? When Guru Nanak Badshah came to the earth, they would go around the world, and they would go to different people in different places, and they would dispel the darkness. They would bring forth the truth, and they would explain to the world why people were suffering the way that they were. They would dispel the untruths. They would teach the things which we're showing today, which we're passing on now today, the messages that we've learned today. And they would go to different places. They walked about 30,000 kilometers across the earth. They were recognized as one of the most traveled beings on foot that have ever walked on this earth. They were the light of God. And what would happen is, whenever they would go to these places, people would fall in love with Guru Nanak, because they had such a sabha, they had such a beautiful, loving, compassionate nature about them, that anybody that looked at Guru Nanak, they would fall in love with Guru Nanak. But there were these people, and they were called the Siddhs. They were like these holy aesthetics people, and they believed that if they could get Guru Nanak to be converted and become part of their faith, that all of the people that were following Guru Nanak, that they would follow them as well. So these Siddhs, they were like yogis, they were like wizards, and through their yogic powers, they could do all sorts of powerful things. They could like fly, they could float, they had like all these supernatural powers. And so the Siddhs in this way had become caught up in their own ego. They were being worshipped, and in this way they'd sort of fallen off the way of serving others in that sense, right? So the Siddhs see Guru Nanak not as a light of God, they see Guru Nanak as a way to get to garner a bigger following. And so they say to Guru Nanak, they try and trick Guru Nanak. They come to Guru Nanak and they try and trick Guru Nanak by showing off their powers in the idea that they would be tempted. But what happened was, every time the Siddhs would go to Guru Nanak with their understanding of the truth, what would happen is that Guru Nanak would reveal the highest truth, the absolute truth about that particular aspect that they were talking about. And the Siddhs would be like scratching their heads like, whoa, this is completely amazing. They would walk away. And then they would come back to Guru Nanak again with like a rhetorical question, a device, some sort of a judge, some sort of an argument, in the hope that they could trick Guru Nanak. And Guru Nanak was like, no, you got it all wrong. This is where we are, basically. And this would happen over and over again. And Guru Nanak would give the highest truths to the falsehoods that were being practiced by these wizards at the time. And Guru Nanak would do it in such style and such finesse that he reveal those teachings in rhyme, in short verses that were written down, these short, perfect teachings. And what happens is, throughout Guru Nanak Dev Ji's life, the Siddhs, these holy people, were coming to Guru Nanak, and then they're being sent away. And then they're going to Guru Nanak again, and they're like, whoa, you're just blowing our minds with these truths. And they would go backwards and forwards during the course of these conversations. A time would come when Guru Nanak, they give the Gurgaddi to Bailana, the second Guru, Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj. And Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj, the second Guru, they have become the Guru now. And these people that are around Guru Angad Dev Ji, they say to Guru Angad Dev Ji, you're the Guru, Now, what teachings are you going to give us? And Guru Angad Dev Ji is like, whoa, they were so humble and they were so imbued with love and appreciation and gratitude to their Guru. Those words mean something so different now when we say them. They're like, look, what can I give you? I can't give anything. I'm just a student to Guru Nanak. So they go back to Guru Nanak, who's still here in the physical form. And they say to Guru Nanak, I'm being asked what teachings am I going to give? And you're my Guru, you're everything. And what Guru Nanak says is, you know those verses, those teachings that I gave throughout my life on the journeys around the world to the Siddhs in our conversations, bring them forward. And there were 40 verses, and they were given to Guru Angad Dev Ji. Guru Angad Dev Ji arranged those verses, and that became Japji Sahib the Path. So you may have heard, put your hands up if you've heard of Japji Sahib before. So we've all heard of Japji Sahib, but perhaps none of us have known that Japji Sahib ain't a poem, a prayer, or a bard. It's all of those things, sorry. It's not just a poem, a prayer, or a bard. Japji Sahib is actually a collection of the conversations, of the teachings, of the chronicles of Guru Nanak with the most spiritually elevated people of the time, taking them to an even higher understanding of God. My brothers and sisters, Japji Sahib is everything. The whole of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj that we bow before, that we put our heads before, is said by great saints to be an explanation of Japji Sahib, which is the first Bani in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, Japji Sahib is like a complete playlist. It's like a Netflix series. Each body, each verse is actually a complete teaching from the life of Guru Nanak Bhattacharya. And why am I sharing this with you? Because we live in a very, very exciting time right now, where we've got Sikh educators and scholars that have taken time to go back to Punjab, who were born in this country. They've gone and they've extrapolated all of the teachings and the education that have been passed down from Guru Nanak Bhattacharya all the way to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, to Amandeep Singh Ji, to Sant Gyani Gurbani Singh Ji Khalsa Pindrawale, and those teachings have been translated into English. And there's never been a time in history before these last few decades where the teachings of Japji Sahib have been so readily and easy to access for us. And what we did last year with the grace of Guru Nanak, something for which I am so grateful, is for 10 months, me and my brother, we went through each body of Japji Sahib and we explained it to the Sangat, from the teachings to the Sangat. And they've all been collected up into a SoundCloud series. And what we're going to do is, we're going to just go through one line of Japji Sahib in this context, right? And we're going to go through one line of Japji Sahib just to see what this means to you, what it means to me, to see how it could actually affect your life. You're like, that's a great bit of information, but how does it benefit me? So check this out. This is why it's relevant to you. This is why it's so important that I wanted to share this with you. Remember those conversations I said with the Siddhs trying to sort of battle with Guru Nanak, and some sort of word battle with Guru Nanak, yeah? So they come to Guru Nanak one day and they say to Guru Nanak, they say, tell us about your God, the one that you worship. See the duality there, the dubda, they're trying to play a game. And they say to Guru Nanak, tell us about the God that you worship. And Guru Nanak Bhattacharya says perfectly, they say, Sacha Sahib. You see that? Like thing there? That was our high school, yeah? Everybody just make a note, yeah? They said to Guru Nanak Bhattacharya says, you're asking me about God, I'll tell you, Waheguru is Sacha Sahib, that they are the true master of every living thing in this world. So the Siddh said to Guru Nanak, okay, if that's the case, how do you realize him? In the Hindu Dharam, they believe in all different ways of practice, that you could stand on one leg, hang upside down from a tree, cover your body in ash, fast for days. These are all different practices in the Hindu Dharam. Yeah? So they said to Guru Nanak, what is the method by which we should practice to get oneness with God? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji perfectly says, you alright, you've gone off?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just checking.
They say, Guru Nanak Bhattacharya says, in respect to the second question, they say, Sat Nai. That the way to realize Sacha Sahib, the way to realize God is Sat Nai. In other words, to recite his name. Or we can say together, Waheguru. Everybody say Waheguru. To recite the name of God is such a blessing. It's something we should be entirely grateful for. Because Guru Nanak Bhattacharya is saying that the way to realize God, the way to realize who you really are inside, The way to overcome all the mental anguish that exists within us is through calling the name God, which costs you nothing. You haven't got to do anything to recite the name of God, and yet we find every reason not to. Let's stop, let's start living. Akajiva visere marjam. You're only alive when you're calling the name of God. So back to the conversation. Guru Nanak Bhat has been asked, tell us about God. They've said Sacha Sahib. Guru Nanak Dev Ji has been asked, how do you realize God? Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying Satnai. Through repeating his name, that's how he will come into our life. So they say to Guru Nanak, okay, not to be undone, what language is his name written in? Is it Hindi, Urdu, Farsi, Punjabi, French, German? Yeah, what language do you have to learn to be able to recite his name correctly? And Guru Nanak Bhatta says you've got it all wrong. The language, Pakya, the language, which Pakya means language, the language you have to learn is a language of Bao, the language of love. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying that to realize God, the language you have to speak is a language of love. With love, you have to say his name. And as you say his name, you will become one. And we've all heard the Bhakti, Sacha, Sahib, Satnai, Pakya, Pawapad. Does that remotely resonate with anybody? Yeah, if it does, just join with me. Say Sacha, Sahib, Satnai, Pakya, Pawapad. Everybody together. Sacha, Sahib, Satnai, Pakya, Pawapad. 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 You see, when we understand what Gurbani means, then it becomes alive for us. Akajiva, I'm only alive when I'm saying your name. Visre, Marjao, I'm actually dead walking when I forget you. You'll be sitting in the kitchen, maybe you've got Jackie Sahib playing in your house on an MP3 player, maybe you're at the Gurdwara, you hear it, and you'll be listening to it, Sacha Sahib, Satnai, yo, I know what that means! And it'll be alive for you. Wouldn't it be amazing if every line of Jackie Sahib was alive for you? Because you could understand where Guru Nanak was, why they said that Bhakti, where it came from, who they were speaking to, what was the context, what question was that an answer to? And so we have this understanding now. There's never been a time in history where this has been available to you, and I'm really excited about this because with the grace of Guru Nanak Bhatta, we've uploaded on SoundCloud a playlist, better than any Netflix playlist you're going to find, yeah, where we have gone through, look at that, just uploaded. We've gone through we've uploaded the playlist now. Has it all been corrected as well? So a few bits at the end. There's a few bits at the end that you forgot to upload, but it's all been uploaded. The complete playlist is there. And what I'd like you to do is let's start listening to the Katha of Japji Sahib. So that when we sit down and do Simran in the morning, we understand why. Sacha Sahib, to realise the true king. Satnai, repeat his name. In what way should we repeat his name? With love and devotion. And in this way you become self-realised. So this is something I would humbly request that you listen to, because I think it's something that a lot of people have really enjoyed listening to the Katha, and I'd like people to benefit from it. So I'm really passionate about this, I'm really excited about it because a lot of people have really found it helped them deal with their own questions and issues. We go back one slide, Bob. Ultimately, what we're trying to realise is actually we're not just university students, postgrad students, undergrad students, we are souls, and the Guru is very close to us. The Guru is close to us through appreciation, the Guru is close to us through gratitude, the Guru is close to us far more beautifully, we can say it, through the Waheguru Mantra. Everybody say Waheguru. So the two suggestions I'm going to make is that we start listening to Katha, what we've done today, we've learned together. The playlist is really something I'm really grateful for, and if you listen to the playlist on Japji Sahib, the other thing that we can do is just wake a little bit earlier. I know you're students, you don't get up there before 11 o'clock, but let's try and get up earlier, and let's spend some time just sitting down and thinking about the things that we're grateful for. Ultimately, the best way we can do that is to concentrate on the breath and recite the Waheguru Mantra. The playlist is there, we're going to put the link back up on there. Please listen to the Katha. And we upload a short video once a week and for about a minute as well on Instagram if anybody's interested in keeping in touch. Instagram is there. So if I've made any mistakes, I ask for forgiveness. You're the Sangha of Guru Nanak Pacha. And Guru Nanak Pacha has chosen to bring you together. And so I'm at your feet. You're my younger brothers and sisters. My life changed when I was at one of these lectures. So please, go to the God about tomorrow. Go with an open heart of gratitude. Next time you pick up the Patal and Langar, don't waste it. Sit down. Before you eat it, realise that you're looking at a miracle. That free food, blessed by the Guru. Look at that key as a gift, a sweetness, not just for your tongue, for your soul. Appreciate that food, appreciate the gift, and start giving the gift to others. And you'll start start living. Who wants to start living? The end of you want to start living. Let's thinking about how we can serve other people. Let's thinking about how we're going to wake a little bit earlier and doing a bit of Simran. Let's think about how we're going to live for others. We started today talking about mental health and about how people are in anguish. And what we've done is we've actually done the opposite of what everybody thought we were going to do, which is concentrate on you, because it's your problem. The best way, in my humble opinion from the teachings that I've understood from the Guru, the best way to deal with your problems is to fix other people's, is to live to help other people. Just like Amandeep Singh did, just like Guru Nanak Pacha did, just like Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj did, just like the great singers and singers of old did. So let's think about what we can do for others if you want to be happy. Who wants to be happy? So it's up to you what you do. But if you've noticed that you don't feel any happier, have a little think about what you're doing for others. And you'll notice there's a massive correlation there between your own mental well-being and how much you're serving others. Just think of those kids as the incentive. Those kids that were blissed out doing London Seva on the streets of London town. They'll forget all birthday parties. They'll all become one big blur of bouncy castles. They won't forget that one in a hurry. Yeah? So forgive me for my mistakes. You are the Sangha of Guru Nanak. I ask for your forgiveness and your blessing. It's not bad use in that.
Yeah, I don't know how you.
Oh yeah, Instagram link there as well. If you guys want to follow, you can watch the clips. High five.